Divorce can affect several aspects of your life, and that includes your finances. Tony Walls with Town and Country Credit Union is here today with some important advice. Thank you for coming in today.
Yep, thanks for having me.
We tease, I mean, it's like, oh, it's a downer. We don't want to talk about getting divorced, but 50% of us, that's what happens in life. People split up, and not only is there sadness, there's some financial sadness that can go along with it as well. So if you are splitting, if you're getting a divorce, and you need to start thinking about your finances, where do you start?
We get that question a lot where I've worked with couples, even if they're dating and have commingled finances, or if you're getting divorced. It's a lot of the stress is not only the personal side, but the economic side of kind of separating those intertwined finances together. So the first thing that I would do is make sure you check to see what's out there. So maybe get a copy of your credit report. So the first thing is we'll talk about checking accounts. So if you're married or you have a joint account, either person can withdraw funds on there and you're both liable for it. So if you have a $10,000 nest egg, unfortunately, either one can go in and just take all that money out. And there's really nothing a financial institution can do. So just be aware of that, because I've seen that happen more than once, where kind of out of the blue, one of the two might get blindsided. So keep that in mind. So what I would recommend is, if you're joint on an account and it gets overdrawn, you are both liable for that. So even though the other person may overdraw it or cause some fees on that, since you're still on the account, you're both liable, even though one may be responsible. Since you're both on the account, you both are.
Okay, so I feel like you kind of need to back up and just right away make a list of everything that you have both names on. Whether
Absolutely.
It's credit cards or checking accounts or loans?
Everything. Yep, it's kind of a laundry list. What I recommend is sometimes we'll even pull our credit report for one of our members, and we'll go through. And if you have a joint credit card, what I would do is maybe close that for new charges, just because, again, if you have a zero balance on $10,000 card and it gets strung up to $4,000, even though you didn't do it, if you're still joint on it, you're still both on the hook. Even though you might get a divorce decree that says, okay, you're liable for this, you're liable for that, until that account is closed and taken care of, you're still on it. So let's say I was getting divorced and we had a joint car loan. And say me and you were married and we had a joint car loan, and I said, you know what, I'll go ahead and make the payment since it's my car. If I have late payments on there and your name's still on it, it's still gonna go on both our credits. So you really wanna make sure what's out there. Another thing, unfortunately, you wanna look for is make sure maybe I opened a credit card in both our names and you never really saw that credit card was open. So that's another reason I like to pull the credit report and do it that way. So just remember too that even if you have a divorce decree, and sometimes I'll call and say, hey, it looks like your payment's late. Well, the other spouse was supposed to pay this. Unfortunately, on paper, yes, they are, but on the credit report, you're still both on that loan. So what I'd recommend is that you refinance those auto loans and say, it's my car, I'll refinance mine in my name, you refinance yours in your name, and that way it's just under you and there's no joint liability anymore. And sometimes that can take some time. So you really want to sit down with somebody and go over the checking account, the credit cards, the auto loans, and any other loans. I call them toys, campers, four-wheelers, and all that. And then finally, the home loan.
Yeah, I was going to say, the mortgage. That's a big one.
That is a big one. So typically what will happen is when there's that split, if the house is sold, then the mortgage paid off and the proceeds are split, which is kind of the cleanest way. But say I wanted to stay in the house, and again, we were both on the house, and you moved out, and I said, well, I'm going to refinance, because you want the person in the house to refinance to get your name off it, but you don't want to sign away your rights to the property until that's done, because if you sign a quit claim, then you don't have rights in the property, but you could still be on the mortgage. I've seen that a time or two. So usually that'll happen simultaneously on the refinance, and then you say, okay, now it's your house, you have a new loan just in your name. So, but just remember, if one of them fails to make it and you're both on it, it's still both on their credit report. So it can get very complex and it can get very emotional and heated during those times too. So I would say, sit down, with your banker and kind of go through everything, kind of get a game plan, because that's going to help reduce the stress of an already stressful situation through a breakup or a divorce.
And sometimes you divorce over the money in the first place.
Unfortunately, I don't know what the stats are, but I'm guessing it's over 50% of a lot of that stress and anxiety comes from just not communicating and going through the budgets and just the stress of everyday life that we all go through.
Tony Walls with Town and Country Credit Union. Thank you so much for kind of breaking it down. Great advice.
Yep,
Appreciate
thank you.
it. Stay with us. Coming up next, we're checking in with our friends at Dakota Magic Casino.